All right, Logan. I think it's time. I think it's time. We're no longer an everything school. We are a true
Ugh.
blue blood basketball school. There is no denying it. Because you know what? Tennessee landed a huge commitment that everyone knew it was coming, but it is official, and they have landed Juke Harris. And that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we get into that, welcome to the Rocky Top Rundown. Logan, how are we doing?
Pretty great now that JUKE HARRIS is officially a Vol. And we can actually start, doing like starting lineups and
Yeah.
we can start and talk about what we think this team could do and all that stuff. So it's exciting. It's a good time. Baseball won yesterday, which we're not going to talk about that. That's just for later in the week. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a good time to be a Vol if you're a basketball fan, anyways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if even if you're not a basketball fan and you're just a football fan that watches the other sports, but you're listening to this podcast, thank you. Make sure you share it. Make sure you subscribe. That way you can get notifications when new episodes drop, when we go live on YouTube, things like that. But also share it with people. You never know what kind of friendships can be made over podcasts shared. Logan, we were going to talk about some big picture things, and then we were supposed to record last night. Thank you for your patience. Apologize for our tardiness in this. Instead, we're hitting you with a lunchtime podcast. But both of us had some familial things come up, some family related items come up. And so we had to wait about, I don't know, what is this, 16 hours or so. And so appreciate all of you for your patience and waiting in this. So, Logan, let's hop into it. Juke Harris, a transfer from Wake Forest, has committed to the Vols, and probably the last transfer that Tennessee will get, based on all the reports, whether you follow Pete Nakos or other transfer portal people. I haven't seen anything on message boards, whether that be on three with VolQuest or on 247's message boards or anything like that. And so, this is one we've been waiting on, and this will solidify Tennessee with the number two transfer class. And the overall could change a little bit depending on maybe what happens with another high school target that we'll talk about in just a little bit. But gives Tennessee the number four overall class. Both of these according to 247. You can go to On Three and Rivals if you want to, Logan, but both of those sites had Tennessee like their transfer. I guess they measure transfer by what transfers out versus what comes in, and so On Three had Tennessee at like 24. Rivals had Tennessee outside the top 10 as far as transfer classes go. So I was like, you know what? We're not going to focus on that. We're just going to focus on the number two transfer class according to 247, number four overall class. And if you are Tennessee, some updated numbers. We've talked about this before, but Juke Harris comes in at number 8, Terrence Hill Jr. 19, Harlanson at 25, Day-Day Ames at 52, Tyler Lemblade at 58, and Miles Rubin at 94. Now those things, not because the players have gotten worse. Other good players have hopped in the portal and kind of hopped them and shifted some of them down one or two spots. I think Rubin had the biggest drop from 90 to 94, but still, all of your transfers and the top 100 possible options you could get in this transfer class, and that is always a good thing. And so, it's a good time to be a Vols fan. Juke Harris jumped from averaging something like 5 or 6 points a game, maybe even 4 points a game, to just under 22 points a game for Wake Forest. Got the ACC's Most Improved Player, which anybody that gets any sort of most insert the blank award in the ACC, you're going to be really excited to have them join your team, because as good as the SEC is, historically, you could argue the ACC has been the greatest basketball conference of all time. I think as of late, you could say the Big 12, the SEC have kind of overtaken that, but historically, the ACC has been the conference to be in if you want to be a basketball player. And so getting the most improved player from the ACC in this last year, fighting off the NBA draft, not even getting to the combine. Drew Karras didn't even go to the combine. I think is a pretty big deal. Barnes went out to visit him last Tuesday, and looks like it was able to seal the deal, and it was announced this Monday morning. And so, Logan, how are we feeling now that Juke Harris is a Vol? Is this a Well, of course it's a good thing, but how good of a thing is this?
Oh, it's a great thing because we have a rule on this podcast that we go by the highest ranking. So for a team ranking, we go by 247. For an individual ranking for Juke, we go by Rivals, and he's Rivals number one overall player. So you got the number one overall player in the portal, who's a 5-star rated portal player. So anytime you can do that, it's a big deal. I saw somebody, and I can't remember who it said, but there was um one of the college basketball like scouting guys was talking about how he is not a like he's not a not he's in the Dalton Connect archetype more than he is the Chaz Lanier. It's
Right.
not a direct comparison, but it's a guy that you can give the ball to. He can score, you know, off script. He can create his own thing, which is something that Tennessee was really looking forward. I mean, even Rick Barnes said that in one of his pressers a couple weeks ago. Was Tennessee looking for like they want to teach guys how to read and react, and they want to run sets and things like that, but they needed guys that could break somebody down and go create their own thing,
Right.
go create their own offense. So this is a massive pickup because you already had a couple of those on your roster, but now you have a like the number one guy. You have an
Right.
elite player about it on your roster who's going to come in, should be your leading scorer. He solidifies that you should be a top 10 team next year.
Right.
Uh, and about the only like this roster would probably be the best one Barnes has ever had. Maybe the 2019 one and the 2023 one you put up against it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just exciting that uh, they literally are batting 1,000, which never happens in the portal. But they're literally getting everybody they want to get. Um, and I mean, they're done. There's no more transfers. They got one roster spot left, and if everything tracks how it's been tracking, they'll get this eBay guy who I'm sure we'll talk about here more in a few minutes.
Yeah.
7-1 high school kid, um, who has like a 7-7 wingspan. So they're pretty much done. They filled out their roster. They have majorly upgraded their roster. Uh, and so, like I said, now we just get a lot to. Now we've got what 5 months of talking about
Waiting.
who's going to play where and do what and things
Yeah.
like that. But I don't know. It's exciting time. It's much better than what you possibly thought it was going to be when guys like Cade and JP started in the portal.
Yeah.
Uh, Rick's grinning ear to ear. He was on last night. He was on the RTI
Chris
Lowdown
Lowe's.
with
Yeah.
with Chris Lowe and Bob Bakersville, and I haven't watched it yet. But even just in the screenshot on YouTube, Rick's got this massive smile. Like he's feeling good.
Oh yeah.
So it's exciting.
And
It'll be
he had
exciting.
that interview knowing the announcement that was coming this morning.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
even
mean,
more so.
they knew they had Juke wrapped up. That's why he flew out there to LA last week, or
Yeah.
I think it was LA. It was California somewhere. And so assuming he wasn't going to the league, which I'm sure they knew better than everybody else, like they knew
Right.
they had him.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal, man.
Really, Rick just wanted some in and out. That's why he flew out to California. He wanted in and out straight from the source.
I was
So
about to say he was in Nashville, so he could have gotten it.
yeah, kind of. It's out of the way, but it's yeah, it's a big pickup. You have your star piece. That's something we talked about. Where losing Nate, that's kind of what this team was officially missing for a minute, along with a true big man, which that might be cleared up, but you have your star cornerstone that you can build the rest of the roster around, and that's what Juke Harris will probably play. Is that it will be that 3 slot and be a wing, and it adds another layer of flexibility to this roster because you do have Jalen Harlanson, you do have Dwayne Brown. Like, you want to play small, you can. You can run Dwayne Brown at the 4 if you want, or at the 5, Harlanson at the 4, or even Miles Rubin at the 5. You bring in Day, you have him at the 2, and there's a lot where the flexibility of this team. You want to you talk about you want to be able as a basketball team in March to win in multiple ways. Rick is definitely positioning himself to win in multiple ways. Like, I think that again, the the front court, the big men, that's probably the biggest weakness, quote unquote, on this team outside of the lack of chemistry on this team. Something we saw at the beginning of this last season where, and part of that too maybe is just guys not being good point guards, but the amount of turnovers coming from just not knowing where guys were going to be, throwing balls where guys weren't, misreads, all of that. But you're also bringing in a ton of experience, like high level experience in these transfers, and so I don't know that that's going to be a big deal. You've got seasoned vets. I mean, all these guys are. They're one and dones. You're not getting another year out of, well, sorry, not all of them. Juke, Terrence Hill, he's a senior. Day Day, I believe, is a senior or heading into a senior year. Lundblade's a 6th year.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these guys are not going to return. And so, it's going to be a fun time. So I think that, yeah, I mean, this is uncharted waters for a Rick Barnes basketball team to have this level of shooting and scoring all around it. Because as good as the 2018, 2019 teams with Grant and Admiral were, Logan, I would argue that this is even better shooting than that. Outside shooting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that team, like Grant could knock it down and Admiral could knock it down and Jordan Bone could knock it down. But they just weren't. And the numbers, I could be wrong. You could go look at the numbers. But like the only true, like absolute, like dead-eye three-point shooters you had on those teams were Jordan Bell and Lamonte Turner.
Yeah. And Turner
Everybody
was
else was
streaky.
kind of a three-level. Yeah, everybody else was kind of a three-level scorer. So, yeah, you definitely have a lot more scoring, and I don't. And did you say you thought maybe having big men could be a weakness on their roster?
I don't think it's going to be a strength. I think weakness is probably a strong term, but I think that Florida of 2 seasons ago still in Rick's head or still kind of what this team could look like. I just don't think we'll have. I don't think we're going to have like a outside threat at the 4 and 5. Is all.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think he's trying to build this like Florida because he didn't go out and get just true like. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think what could be, this is crazy to say. I feel confident in the big men they've assumed. I mean, I assume Dwayne Brown takes a big step in year 2. Harrelson is obviously 5-star, McDonald's All-American, freshman, all-conference ACC. Rubin has as many blocks in 3 years as Parr did almost in 4 years. Obviously, there's a step up in competition, so that's a little bit, but still. So I'm not really worried about their interior game. I think their biggest weakness could be defensively overall.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily worried about their big men. I don't think they're trying, they didn't go out and try to get a Ruben Chinilu.
Yeah.
So I don't think or Alex Condon.
Yeah. Or Hauk.
So, but he shoots it better, but Harrelson's just like a Hauk.
True.
It's the same type of player.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where I think they try to get a lot of scoring from perimeter and then athletic, hard-nosed big men that were not necessarily like 7'3", which obviously there's not many 7'3", but they weren't going to get beefy guys, but they got athletic guys that can still do what they want defensively and switch and things like that. So,
and I think that the big men they have assembled don't have to be on the block to be productive. And I do think that is a big step up from last year's team. And I know that was a intentional step the staff did, was like trying to get guys, like trying to get, JP and Carey on the block and let the offense initiate there. But I think Rick likes the floppy action too much to have your bigs posted up on the block every time down, because it just clogs up space. And so, you've got bigs. Obviously, I haven't watched Miles Rubin, but it's really exciting to see a player like Dwayne Brown that has the playmaking skill and ability that Dwayne Brown does, where he's able to pass and he's got good touch on his shot. He is a power player with good finesse. And so I'm with you. I think Dwayne Brown could be a big step up. I just think when I say weakness, I mean more so in the sense of there isn't a, which we didn't really have it this year because Cade got hurt, but who's your enforcer out of those? Because unless Dwayne Brown just was hiding it all year, I don't know that he's going to be the one to go out and
Lou.
And it could be Lou if he gets on the floor. I don't know how. I'm assuming he'll get on the floor for 5-10 minutes a game in the thick of SEC play.
Huh.
I still think we're gonna see more 4 out, 1 in with this roster. I'm not convinced that Dwayne Brown and Miles Rubin are going to spend a ton of time on the floor together.
Oh, I don't think so either. But I think Blue is a stretch. Like, he shot 37% from three. He shot more threes than I thought when we talked about him on that one pod. He shot 93s last year.
Yeah, he shot
So,
120 and then 90, or just under 90.
Yeah.
And he was closer to 25% than he was 30 last year.
Yeah. So
now if his shot develops, which under Rick it tends to, it's also one of those things where I have to remind myself how good Grant Williams was with Rick Barnes as a 6'5"-ish big man.
Yeah.
And if Rick Barnes can find guys that are worth coach or that are willing to be coached, Rick can turn them into something. And so I have to, just personally, I have to remind myself, like, hey, this is going to be okay if we don't have 7'2", 250 pounds. Now, what we might have on this team is 7'1", 235 pounds with a 7'7" wingspan. You mentioned him earlier, but Favor eBay he is from Nigeria, has taken a visit to Tennessee. Logan, 6 players have visited Tennessee in this window. What has happened with those 6 players?
they've all committed and signed.
And signed. So that would make you think that if Favor eBay has taken a visit, which he has, reports are that he has, that's a pretty good sign. And if you're like, okay, just this random guy, well, he's a 4-star in this next recruiting class. He would be on campus next year, and he's the number 22 center in the 2026 class. I believe that's according to 247, maybe on 3. I can't remember which one I pulled that from, but he's no scrub. He's a 4-star, like I said. Bama, Michigan, and Texas have all offered him, which
he's a smart agent.
Yeah,
he's a smart. They held out. They've driven that asking price up to like $1 million.
Right. Which, I mean, you can't teach 7'1", 7'7" wingspan. No. And I threw in Texas as well because Sean Miller is a great coach, and if Sean Miller is saying I want that guy, then I think that's someone that you need to be paying attention to. Like, I thought if Xavier was trying to recruit someone when Sean Miller was there, it was worth watching them. And so, it's a good sign. And that could be the final piece you need.
But shouldn't it be Tennessee's recruiting? So if Rick Barnes wants that guy, that's somebody should pay attention to?
Correct.
Why do you have to use Sean Miller as a...
Correct. I know. I am with you. But I'm saying for the people listening going, oh, that's, he's just... whatever, which I don't know that I feel like people tend to star watch, which a 4-star is nothing to scoff at in basketball. I feel like basketball 5 stars get highlighted much more than football 5 stars, mostly because typically the basketball 5 stars are immediate impacts and one and dones. So just wanted to make sure that eBay got his credit. But I mean, you look up a picture of him and you can just see how big of a human he is. Like the first picture I saw was a very Giannis-like picture where his arms were stretched out, ball in each hand. And I was like, okay, the rumors or reports of his 7'7" wingspan must be true because he's huge. Sure. And so, that size, I mean, obviously we don't know. Rick doesn't know. He said that on the Big Orange Caravan, I think in Nashville, where he doesn't know what they have yet. He's got to get everyone in the building and start getting practices together this summer and see what he's got. So he doesn't know rotations yet. But I wouldn't be shocked if we looked up in November and eBay's getting not a ton of run, but he's getting run as a freshman because that size, it's hard to keep off the floor. As long as he's not stupid with the ball in his hand and not a liability offensively, he's going to be able to block shots. Now, can he do what he needs to around the perimeter? I don't know. I would imagine he's got some spring to him.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. Doesn't look like, I mean, he's a big boy, but he doesn't look like he's overly he looks athletic, like he can move on his feet. So, that would be a great final. I guess this all means Nate's not coming back, huh? I guess Nate's in the draft for good.
I guess so. I mean,
but no, I mean, you like their chances getting him on campus. So it'll be interesting to see. that would be kind of a tough one to hit on everything, and then your last guy who's got a 7'7" wingspan you don't get.
Yeah.
But I would think them getting on campus, they got to feel pretty good about their chances there.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah, I don't know that he necessarily helps a whole lot next year.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, in this day and age, I don't know that you're bringing anybody in that you don't give a shot to helping you out
Correct.
the next year. So, yeah, I think he's kind of what you're missing. You don't really have a player like him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Miles Rubin's similar, but Miles Rubin's is not 235 either.
Correct. Miles Rubin's also
So,
3 or 4 inches shorter.
so what's 7'1", 6'2" right?
I've seen 6'10", 6'9" for Miles Rubin. I've seen.
Well, so 6'10" is what I've seen, and then 7'1".
Yeah.
So
and eBay played in the 18 under for the 18 under Nigerian team, and in their last in what event is this? They're the U18 AfroBasket FIBA event that was put on. These are all African teams, African countries, but he averaged just under 6 points, just over 6 rebounds, and half an assist a game in that.
yeah,
That's pretty good. If he can come in and average 3 or 4 rebounds a game. Now I don't know how many blocks he had 6 blocks across the whole. So he had a block a game, 1 block a game, in international play. Now obviously different levels of international play. It was also U18, not the grown men, but against his age, against his competition, 6'6" and 1. If he can do half that, have a half a block a game, 3 and 3, that'd be pretty nice coming off the bench, especially for a freshman.
Yeah, I just don't see a spot for him in the rotation. I mean, you're talking about he's your 4th big man, 5th big man.
If you count Harlison, he would be your 5th.
You count Harrelson or Harrelson. I think it's Harrelson.
Harrelson.
Either way, whatever it is, Harrelson. So yeah, I mean, I think that being said, they found a way to play 5 this year.
True.
So
it helped. Cade got hurt.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, they've really never had a guy like him.
Yeah.
The closest thing they've had is like Eurosh.
Yeah.
Plovsic. So, it'll be interesting to see if they close that out. What is their plan on using him, and
right.
How college ready is he?
Right.
But I mean, he doesn't look like a scrub. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. So, all right, Logan, let's flip over. We can talk starting 5 in a different podcast, but let's flip over to the eligibility rules that look like they are on track to go into effect for the NCAA. So if you haven't heard, and I'd be surprised if you hadn't, but just in case you haven't, the NCAA's rules people, whatever faceless entity it is called, they are working through a proposed 5-year eligibility rule. And essentially it would be you have 5 years from turning 19 or graduating high school, whichever happens first, to play as much collegiate sports as you want. And it would get rid of red shirts. It would get rid of... Essentially, the goal is to help protect high school players. We would stop seeing 25, 26-year-old players in college sports. If you get hurt, it seems like it's just kind of like a tough luck thing. I've not heard a ton about, injury exceptions, medical exceptions, but it is looking to make things as simple as humanly possible as to whether or not someone has eligibility. And it seems like the NCAA is just trying to put something set in stone that's easy, that is defendable in court, because whenever they try to implement something like this, it's 100% going to happen that people are going to take them to court because they're being prevented from making money. And so it's, the one thing that it's not talking about is, one of the big things with BYU and of the Mormon religion is to take 2 years and go on mission. That's how Tennessee got Peely in football. at the age 27, 26, 27, something like that was his final year because he took 2 years or a year on mission or something like that. And so,
Yeah,
there are those exceptions that have not been discussed. I have not heard anything about those in detail, which you just got to get the rule figured out and then figure out what you're going to allow exceptions to be,
sure.
because you don't want to, if I'm the NCAA, that seems like real sticky water to say, here it is. Sorry, if you go on mission, you lose 2 years of your eligibility, because that's not fair. And so, and I'm sure there's other things, as well. For women, what happens if they get pregnant and they, can't play for a year, like things like that. So, uh, it's it will also, I haven't heard much on, and I haven't read much on what it would do for international players. I guess that's where the age component helps.
Yeah,
Like you're not getting a 27-year-old professional player from Spain to come play on your basketball team. So it to me, it's very clear this is all to protect the collegiate portion of college sports
sure.
and the high school players, which is great because that's a threat right now. I mean, you think about it. Look at LSU. Wherever Lane Kiffin goes, that man does not touch high school recruiting. He has people that do, but he could care less. He wants the transfer portal because it's easier. Look at Rick. Rick puts a lot of time in the transfer portal. Still does in high school, but Tennessee's roster is going to be built up of the production on the roster is going to be built up primarily of transfers. Now, part of
Yeah,
that is out of necessity, but in this new age, high school players were starting to get choked out more and more. Like it made more sense to just go JUCO or go D2 and just wait for your shot because you weren't even going to get looked at by some schools. And so, it's before we get into how it could affect Tennessee's sports, and because this looks like it looks like it would go into effect during this school year. That seems like the potential timetable. And so those that are in, like if they are within the window, they get immediately added to it. So like, a fifth year senior this year or a senior this year. If I understand it correctly, everyone would get one more year. If I understand it correctly in this next one. I could be wrong. But Logan, big picture. Do you like this? Do you hate it? Do you think it's the right move for college sports? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't know much about it. I haven't really seen much on it. Uh, so you know more than I do. Uh, if you're getting rid of red shirts, then like it's not really any different than just doing four in a red shirt. So I don't really think it's that big of a
Right.
change. So yeah, I'm fine with it. If you want to do 5 for 5, um, the thing I think where it gets murky is if you give a exception for a mission.
Right.
They give an exception for a pregnancy, like you said, or something. Or you get this except now all of a sudden you've got like, well, you gave an exception to them, so I'm gonna try to
Right.
get an exception. So like you're just in the same boat.
Right.
So I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know the best way forward, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
Um, you know, I I mean it instead of I think you said it starts at when you turn 19, or
It's
what'd you
it's
say?
graduate high school or turn 19, whichever
Okay,
happens first.
okay. Well, your starting point should just be once you start playing college ball. I don't know why you have to start it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, because
I
with
guess,
the international players, they don't start college ball.
yeah, that's true.
Like it is an age thing because there's been such a premium on experience and older guys. And the whole point, I believe, of this is to help protect high school players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could have, I don't know. I don't know what the best route is, but once you start giving one exception, you got to give a bunch. But then
Right.
you're like, it's really not fair religiously if a guy goes on a Mormon mission, you know, till he's 21.
Right.
So, yeah, I really, like I said, I really don't have any thoughts on it. I just don't know much about it. I haven't looked at it much. Um, like I guess they do have to fix something because some of these guys
Right.
being in college for 7 years is getting ridiculous. Even though
Correct.
I would have loved Joey to get another year,
Right.
which is a whole other topic.
Right.
But yeah, they got to do something. I just don't know what the best path forward is because there's so many arguments to be made about trying to do exceptions or whatever else.
Right. No, I mean, I agree. I think that they got to figure out the They got to figure out what they're going to do with the exceptions, and if they're going to even allow exceptions, and if there's something where it's like by the age of 25, your eligibility is done. Like you turn 25, you're done. I mean, that works at all different levels of competitive travel sports. You got to present a birth
Yeah.
certificate to play, and when you have a date that the cutoff is, and if it's April 1st, if you're 24 on April 1st, 25 on April 2nd, congrats, you've made it. But if you're 25 on July 31st, sorry, you don't get to play anymore. Your eligibility's run out. Like, makes sense to me, because I do feel like 25 is a fair number to
Well,
to throw out because that would then allow, if someone goes on mission till 21, they can then hop in and they get 4 years. And it's I think the goal is to give someone the opportunity to play 4 years. If you get to play, if you stay healthy enough to play all 5 years of your eligibility, great for you.
well, here's the thing. Like, I still think you can do it. Your clock starts when you enroll in university or whatever. Because, like, listen, if you want to go get a 27-year-old from Europe to come play, listen, especially with how advanced athletes are nowadays,
Yeah.
guys are in their prime at 21, 22 anyways.
Right.
Getting a 27-year-old is not some big athletic advantage.
Right.
So, like Tennessee had a great receiver back in the early 2000s, Kelly Washington. He was older than everybody else. He started when he was like 23 at Tennessee because he went and played minor league baseball right out of high school for a few years.
Right.
So, like, I think the easiest thing to do is just be started when they start in college.
But
Because
I think my pushback to that is, thinking through how some of these guys are. Like, let's take Favor eBay. Let's say he stays in Nigeria. A G League team sees him, says, "Hey, come play G League." He plays in the G League and is playing against other top, former D1 competition, getting to play at essentially a semi-lesser Division I level, and then comes back and his clock doesn't start at. If he were to come in at 24, you're saying he would get 5 years of eligibility from that point on.
yeah,
Like
I
that.
mean, there's not a perfect one, but again, these athletes are so progressive. Like colleges are basically just professional teams, anyways.
Yeah.
So like, and it's different than like what Alabama did, right? Alabama went and got a guy that already left school, given up his
Right.
eligibility to go pro, and then he wasn't good enough, so he tried to come back.
Right.
Like, I don't. You can make caveats to it, Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think there's a great answer in general.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
it's
so
just you start saying, well, you get an exception for this, then there's like 60 more exceptions out here,
correct.
and you're back where you started.
And that's where you just have to make a blanket statement that doesn't work for everybody. You got to catch 80-85% of the, maybe even 90% of what's going on. Otherwise, you get caught up in details and nothing ever gets fixed. So I appreciate that the NCAA is at least trying to fix things. And so, for Tennessee specifically, from a Tennessee lens, basketball doesn't have anyone that would be eligible. Lundblade is the closest, but he would be in his 7th year. He doesn't get anything else. Anyone else that would be eligible, I think, is going to the draft. And so, or they'll be out of, they are already redshirting, like they're a redshirt senior, so they would have been in college for 5 years. Those that it would be applicable to would be those that have played 4 years. They're seniors. They're true seniors right now. And so then they would get a 5th year that way, if I'm understanding everything correctly. And so I went and looked. For Tennessee football, this could be a huge thing. You could get Wendell Moy back. I think he's probably. I think most of these guys are, except for definitely 2, maybe 3, are going to the draft. You get Wendell Moy back. You could get Quay Moss back. I think both of those are going to the draft. T-Lander, he's one I think is a toss-up. I think he'd have to have a great year, but I think you could probably, I think he would come back if he could next year.
Uh-huh.
So T-Lander's one you could get back. You could get Turbyville and Jackson Ross back, which would be great. You'd have your special teams taken care of. But then Kayon Lee, he would be able to come back, along with TJ Metcalf and Amari Campbell. I think those 3 are probably going to the draft if they have the years that they should. And so from a Tennessee perspective, if this does go into effect right now, or as soon as the school year starts and they all get one more year, that could be huge for the football team. That also speaks to how young this team is about to be again. That
Sure,
there's,
which is crazy.
yeah, there's, I think I've got 8 names. I said 8 names. Yeah, 8 or 9 names. Like, and that's all of your seniors. Well, those
Uh-huh.
are all your true seniors. I don't think you have any. I don't think I included any redshirt seniors. I may have, but still. Um, and so from a Tennessee's perspective, it could be incredibly helpful for the football team moving forward. Now, again,
Oh, for sure.
I think all but 3 of those guys are gone, and
Yeah,
probably you could talk me into T Lander going to the draft, but I think everyone else I listed is gone. I mean, Wendell Moy could go be a NFL center tomorrow if he's healthy.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm trying to think. Yeah, with the list you gave, I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about the DBs, so that's. But like T Lander would probably be a guy that 5 for 5. Like he's not going to go to the NFL after
Yeah,
this year. I mean, he could because he doesn't have any more. Um, uh, but yeah, if everybody else is as good as you had hoped from a transfer perspective, if
yeah,
they're all as good as if they don't go to the draft, that means this year is not going like you had hoped.
right,
Because that's, I mean, most of your defensive production.
yeah. Which I could see Quay Moss coming back. We don't know much about him, but there wasn't
Yeah.
a ton of buzz about him coming out of Kansas State. Now, unless he turns around and just has a Caleb Downs type year where he's just
Uh-huh.
drawing, because he was supposed to be your star. I don't know if Metcalf will end up filling that star role.
Play with no,
Okay,
Metcalf will play safety.
okay, and so with that, I mean that star position gets a lot of attention, and
Uh-huh.
so he could have a big year, but still, it's overall, I think it's going to be a good thing, a net positive for the sport because we're in ridiculous. We're not only is it ridiculous that we have 26, 27-year-old guys. Again, would have loved for Joey to come back because these are the current rules, but it is ridiculous that Joey Aguilar could have come back for another year. Like, dude's too old to be in college football. Same with Diego Pavia, potentially having another year. Like, too
Yeah.
much. Trinidad Chambliss should not have another year. But it's also
Right.
ridiculous that there's all these lawsuits. Like at some point, the NCAA's got to put a rule in effect that can stand up in court and not get beaten. And I think that's what I'm more excited for, to not have to be listening about all these different lawsuits. Now, NIL makes all that very tricky, but the NCAA needs to figure out a way to actually govern themselves, what they exist to do, instead of waiting on Washington D.C. to get involved. And so I also think if some of the stuff that's moving that honestly I only hear Josh Pate talking about, where there's
Big
movement.
Josh Pate guy.
Yeah, I mean he's helpful. He pays attention to details, but there's movement for the conferences. Essentially, all the conference TV deals would get pooled into one thing, and conferences would no longer have contracts with just one network. Now there'd be breakdown for distribution to be given out adequately, so like the SEC and the Big Ten would still make a majority of the money. But
Uh-huh.
there's things like that. There's the movement of laws to protect all the Olympic sports and women's sports because the amount of money that the football and basketball are pulling, things like that, to where that could also make big shifts into the landscape to where I they need to fix this stuff because they either need to fix this stuff or players need to unionize. We need to have a collective bargaining agreement. I'm
Good
with
luck with
Danny.
that.
I know they won't, but I'm with Danny White to where like you just something's got to get fixed because you're going to end up choking out the underbelly of college sports, which is what makes college sports great. Like the fact that or teams are going to start like a Tennessee is going to look at UTC, UT Chattanooga, UT Martin, UT Southern, and go, you are all our farm system now. Your players don't go anywhere else besides the University of Tennessee. Like when they commit to you, they're committing to the whole thing. It just that I don't know what else we're going to be able to do to be able to save college sports as a whole because these smaller schools are not going to be able to keep up at financially with these other schools. And if like the SEC choking out another one of the cupcake games, yes, I understand the argument, and I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I understand the argument of the SEC getting to play a group of 5 or lower, or an FCS team in November. Quote, not fair. Whatever. Get it. Get the argument. What that game did, though, was give another school $750,000 to $1 million to take back and invest into their smaller athletic departments and allow those athletic departments to continue. Because those schools are not going to not have football, but they may not have women's soccer or, track and field, because they're non-revenue sports that when stuff gets put on the chopping block, numbers are numbers. So anyways, all I'd say, NCAA's got to figure something out. They got to figure out how to govern themselves and figure out how to stay out of the courtroom, and hopefully blanket statements will help do that.
I have nothing to add to that. I think you hit the nail on the head. Feel better after getting that off of your chest?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll bring it up again at some point, just because I don't think it's being paid attention to enough, is how damaging to college sports as a whole our current NIL status is. And I say that as a fan of a school that is benefiting heavily from the current NIL structure, because I don't know that you get all of these transfers without the NIL structure. Maybe I'm wrong, but
you don't, but guess. Everybody else doesn't either. You also keep some of your players. So,
correct.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, something's got to change. But, again, I don't even think NIL is what's hurting.
Yeah.
I don't think NIL is the problem. I think unlimited transfers is the problem.
Well, I
think
agree with that.
The transfer portal, I think you fix everything. Because
you're probably right.
Then it doesn't matter. Like a team can't come offer somebody double the money you're paying them.
Yeah.
No,
they can once.
They can one time, right? But Jalen Carey can't be on his 4th team in 4 years.
Correct.
Things like that. So I think transfer portal is a bigger issue than NIL, to be honest with you. That's just me, though.
How many transfers would you give? And then we'll wrap up.
How many what?
How many transfers? 1. Just 1?
1 plus if your coach leaves.
And then a grad transfer?
No.
You wouldn't do a grad transfer?
I think you're just getting too many at this point.
But from an actual school perspective, what if your school doesn't have the graduate program you want?
Nobody cares about that if you're grad transferred. It's because you're trying to play more ball.
Well, that might be true.
So
that might be true.
You wanted to do, you get 1 free transfer, a graduate transfer, or you get if you've already used your transfer but your coach leaves.
Yeah.
So what you really get is 1 free transfer and then a graduate year, because you're out of eligibility at that school anyway.
Right. You're right.
So,
no, I agree. I think the transfer portal fixing the transfer portal would solve some things, but I think there's still some of the larger issues that NIL is causing. So I don't disagree, but I think it's a both and. So, but anyways, Logan, we tried our hand at some big picture stuff. First time for everything. So hope you all enjoyed. And we'll get this out. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're listening, I'll have this out to you as soon as I can, because it is the middle of the workday. It is my lunch break, and so I have to get back to work. But anyways, we are having a good time. This is the Rocky Top Rundown, and that's Logan. I'm Alec, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.